What is going on, guys? This is DRS Live, Week 6 of the NFL season. I am your host, Evan Cheney. Ben is not here today, but fortunately, I do get a smiling face on the other side here in CG for this week. CG, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Evan. How you been, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm ready to dive into this Week 6 slate. The live stream just popped up, and I just heard myself on YouTube, and I sound terrible, but we'll keep going. I'll trudge through the schleppiness that is my voice.
Yeah.
And we'll just dive into our first game here. We have the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Buffalo Bills. Right now, the Bills are favored by 7.5 points in a game that features a 44-point total. Injury news to look at here. Vance McDonald's questionable with a hip injury. He practiced on Tuesday. Don't know about today. There's nothing out there for whatever reason for that. And on the Buffalo Bills side, Sammy Watkins is still out, but other than that, nothing else. So let's just look at this 49ers offense first. And Colin Kaepernick is back this week. He's going to start Chip Kelly, doing what I guess he should have done in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, but see, how do you feel about Colin Kaepernick? I mean, outside of all the things that, how strongly we may or may not feel against Colin this week or in general. How do you like him this week with that 49ers offense?
All of the national anthem things aside, we're talking about football now. I mean, I think his skill set clearly would fit Chip Kelly's offense. I mean, I don't know why he wasn't starting from day one. So I mean, he's got some big time upside for sure if he's capable still. Like I don't know kind of shape he's in from not playing, but I mean, I would think that he would be decent.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Colin Kaepernick, I guess the attitude, he does have an attitude. I mean, I'm not talking about all that crap that he was doing, but like just the attitude in general is not fitting with Chip Kelly. Because I know when Chip was in Philadelphia, anyone that had an attitude on him saw their playing time go down. So that's probably why Colin was not playing for a while. But Blaine, in terms of fantasy production, Blaine was only doing better than Case McKean. What? Why am I blanking on his name? Who's the guy in Los Angeles?
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. I don't know. I blank on mediocrity. But
that's right.
But yeah, I mean, I think Colin Kaepernick might. He presents a lot of value, especially in cash games this week at 5K. He's a solid option for me there. I like Carlos Hyde in there at running back, but the Bills do well against running backs, especially in the past 3 weeks. And then Jeremy Curley is probably the one receiver that I really like from this game for the 49ers. He saw 13 targets last week against the Arizona Cardinals, catching 8 of them for 102 yards and a touchdown. Definitely can get behind that this week. Hopefully with Colin Kaepernick targeting him,
Yeah, he seems to be finding a bigger role for sure. Like past 2 weeks, he had 9 targets the week before that, and you said 13 targets last week. So yeah, I mean he's carving out a little role for himself there for sure. He's super cheap. So I mean, him and Kaepernick could be a nice place to start and just build from there if you want to go, cheap at quarterback and receiver. Nice little stack.
Yeah, and ownership. I mean, what does Jeremy Curley have to do to finally get some ownership? Because even in Thursday lock contest, he's like 2% owned.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he finally sees it this week. Who knows? Look at this Buffalo Bills offense here. We got the same stuff going on in terms of they've been on fire lately. They're implied for 25.8 points right now per Vegas. So Vegas really likes them. Ty God, I think, might be in play at 5,300. But really, the top play here for me is LaShawn McCoy. I mean, San Francisco's just been bad all around defensively since their Week 1 game against the Rams. And then Shady last week, I mean, he ran the ball 18 times for 150 yards. No touchdowns, but still, I mean, the opportunities in the yardage have to mean something there. I don't know. What are you liking here?
Yeah, it looks like Shady's had at least 16 or at least 15 carries in every single game so far. And he's always a guy that, give him a little bit of space, he could take it all the way. With Watkins being out, I guess Woods is their number 1 receiver. I think he had kind of a down week last week, but I mean, like you just said, opportunity could be there for him at pretty, 5,500 on FanDuel. It's not too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, maybe Charles Clay. He had a decent game, didn't he, last week?
Yeah, I mean, he's 2,900 this week. He saw 5 targets, caught all 5 of them for 73 yards. I think, if he can continue that kind of production, the value is there.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
value is definitely there at 2,900.
Yeah,
And if you really want to get ballsy, Marquise Goodwin, he's 3,000. He caught a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Very unexpected. Targeted 6 times, only caught 2 of them for 13 yards, but I had him in a few lineups for whatever reason I felt was justified at the time. I don't remember what it was, but it's probably the 3K.
Right. That has something to do with it.
Yeah, that was definitely my main factor there. So I kind of like him there, but I think there's a lot more. There's a lot better options for fantasy this week in terms of where the offense.
Those would be tournament plays only.
Yeah. Speaking of which, moving on to our next game here, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles,
right.
going up against the Washington Redskins. Right now, the Eagles are favored by 4 points right now in a game that features a 44.5 point total. Right now, in terms of injury news and suspension news, Lane Johnson is suspended for 10 games. He lost that appeal. That'll have a very bad effect on the Eagles offense that I'll talk about in a second here. And then Jordan Reed is questionable this week with a concussion. He's been having some concussion symptoms since Tuesday, and he's been on that protocol. So he's questionable for this week. So I'll just get into this Eagles point here. I don't know. Without Lane Johnson, they're going to have a lot of weird movement going on in that line. And I'm just so uncomfortable with everyone outside of, I'm just uncomfortable with everyone. I mean, Carson Wentz is still a cash game play for me because he's still a very consistent player. And at 6,000, at 6,000, he's just solid. And, he had a few hiccups last week, his first hiccups of his NFL career. It's going to happen. But really Carson Wentz is my lone guy here that I like. I mean, Zach Ertz, you can also make an argument for, had a rough game out his first time after the injury. But, you look at some of these game logs here. I mean, not just from this season, but like last season. And he's gotten targets. In the last 3 games of last season, he had 13, 17, and 9 targets respectively. Had 7 targets the first game of this season. He was out against the Bears and Steelers, but then he only saw 3 targets against the Lions. People are not going to look at him, and I kind of like him for that reason.
Yeah, he's good. He'd be a good tournament play for sure. He's always, if he gets the targets, he could have a big game. I haven't watched a lot of the Eagles. I mean, I'm still a little bit pissed off at my Browns for not taking Carson Wentz at number 2. But I agree with you on that. I mean, 6K, you're looking for about 20 points or so for a cash quarterback. That's not too bad. And I don't know what to do, with their backfield. Like you said, they have an offensive line issues. So, I mean, I don't know about Ryan Matthews or Sproles. I mean, Sproles could always, take a kickback or take a punt back to the house or something like that. And then Jordan Matthews, I know he burnt a lot of people last week, so I don't know if anybody's going back to him. That's a tough spot for them for sure.
Yeah, Jordan Matthews just scares the hell out of me because he drops so many passes. Right. It's like there's something going on in his head. I don't even know. I just want to know what happens.
He had that big week in week 1 against the Browns, and he hasn't done a whole lot since then.
I guess everyone has their big week against the Browns, right?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I mean, I'm there every Sunday, so I see it firsthand, my friend.
Let's look at this Redskins team here. I don't know. I'm not excited by anyone. I mean, Jordan Reed is always a guy you can trust. He's 6,100 this week. I mean, again, if he plays with that concussion injury. But, again, if he does play, he gets consistent targets. Double digits in his last 2 games. And people are going to look at the game log watchers are going to look last week. And they're going to see that he got his 11 targets against the Ravens, and he caught eight of them for 53 yards. But he only scored 13.3. Some people probably got burned by him. But what a lot of people in that category of DFS player that just looks at game logs, what they're not going to realize is, the wins that day were very high. So,
right.
The passing, there was very little scoring to be had in that game, by both sides. So, the game log watchers are not getting that bit of information, and they're gonna skip over Jordan Reed, who I really do think can have a strong game here.
Yeah. Also now that Gronk is back, that's going to knock Reed's ownership down almost every single week, so it makes him a better tournament option also.
Oh yeah, just solely based on that on the whole name recognition factor.
Right. Now, if Reed is out, if Reed is out, does that mean like Deshaun Jackson, Crowder, Garcon, like any of those guys? I mean, are their targets going to jump up at all? I mean, I don't know how much. I'm not sure how much Washington throws the ball. I mean, I would imagine Reed's their number one guy.
Yeah, that kind of dips into the next point I was going to make here, and it's really looking at Deshaun Jackson. I mean, Jamison Crowder and Pierre Garcon could be guys you look at as well. But really, the guy I'm looking at here is Deshaun Jackson for, first of all, narrative street factor.
Yeah, for sure.
Going up against the Eagles. But really, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's just the Eagles in general. They do have issues when it comes to deep ball threats, right? And Deshaun Jackson has had very strong games against the Eagles when he plays them. I mean, not his last one, but I think it was the game before. He just ripped them apart. So I do like Deshaun Jackson for that reason, even though I do trust the secondary a lot more than in previous years. I do like him in that spot. And then Jamison Crowder, you can certainly make an argument for him as well in that spot at 4,400. Matt Jones as well. Yeah, Matt Jones. Inconsistent, but you can trust him.
If you're just looking for somebody to fill out the team there.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next game here with featuring your Cleveland Browns going up against the Tennessee Titans.
All right.
Right now, the Titans are favored by a whopping 7.5 points in a game that featured 44-point total. Right now, as far as injury news is concerned, Cody Kessler, Joel Bitonio. Am I even saying his name right?
Yeah, Bitonio.
Oh, yes. Nice. Bitonio. My name pronunciation game is it's awful. So I'm glad I got that right. Cody Kessler is also questionable for this game with a rib injury, although apparently he's expected to play this week, and doesn't seem to be any injury news for the Titans. Delaney Walker's all patched up and ready to go. So let's just jump into your Browns offense here. I don't know. Let me ask you, are there any threats to be had?
That's a $1 million question, my friend. Isaiah Crowell, obviously, he's the featured back, so he's going to get the carries. Antonio, it might be tough because he's their best run blocking offensive lineman. So I don't know if I'd go with Crow. On DraftKings, you could always go with Duke Johnson because he catches a lot of passes, but he doesn't play as much as Crow, so that's always tough. You want the guys that are going to be on the field. And then Terrell Pryor, we saw what he can do in Miami, but he hasn't had a really big game since then. So it's tough with him. You don't know if he's going to be forced to play quarterback and run the read option all day. If somebody gets hurt, you're not really sure what's going on there. So I don't think any of them are safe by any means. But I mean, you could go Crow, Duke Johnson, or Pryor in tournaments for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do the one player that I really like the most that in that bunch is Isaiah Crowell at 4,600. Has a lot of variance in his game.
Right. Another guy that's really a solid player, but just is not doing it this year is Gary Barnidge at tight end, and I think it's just the quarterback issues they're having.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we could get Josh McCown in there, like we could just kind of pencil Barnidge in for 10 targets a week. You know what I mean? But can't keep him on the field.
Josh McCown is a legend. The tweet that he put out like last week or whatever, when he let his daughter and his daughter's friends borrow all the jerseys, but she didn't have enough friends. That's just great. If you have
He
enough
had like
jersey,
12 uniforms.
if you
Yep.
have been employed by that many teams, that
Right.
that your daughter just oh man, that's legendary. Um,
That is.
yeah. So look at this Titans team here. There are certainly some options here that you can go with. Uh, if the passing is something you want to target in this game in terms of the Titans, I love a Marcus Mariota, Delaney Walker stack. Marcus Mariota finally got his crap together last week against the Dolphins, where he scored 30 and a half DraftKings points, throwing for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns, while also rushing for 7 times for 60 yards. So yeah, Marcus Mariota really got his crap together, and I really think that'll continue for this week now that they're at home playing the Browns. And then Delaney Walker at 5,500. I love the play this week. Great stack right there with Mariota Walker. And if you do want to go with the run game, DeMarco Murray, even though he's 7,700, I think game script will be certainly in his favor.
Oh yeah, he's a very 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 good play this week. Browns haven't really stopped anybody on the run all year.
Yeah, so I think for cash, DeMarco Murray is going to do you well, and for GPP, Mariota and Walker, I think just make for a fantastic stack.
Right.
Quick little side note here.
You might as well throw the Titans defense in there too.
Ben always complains that I don't talk about defenses enough, but like it's just like one of those things that you should assume. I guess you shouldn't assume, but like if I don't talk about the offense that much, I think the defense should be assumed to some extent. Not like not my favorite defenses, but they should be assumed to some extent. One quick side note before we get back into these games here. We do have a chat log here on the live stream on YouTube. So if you guys have any questions at all, make sure to ask those in the live stream chat box. And, we can get to those like ASAP, as we roll on through these games here. If I'm able to talk. So we can make sure you guys are well prepared for this week's games. Jumping back into into the foray here, we have the Baltimore Ravens going up against the New York Giants. Right now, this game has a 43.5 point total, with the Giants favored by 3 points. Injury news to look at here: Mike Wallace is questionable for this week with a rib injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. Steve Smith looks to be out for this week with the ankle injury. He's doubtful. So I don't see him playing at all this week. And then for the Giants, no injury issues there. So let's just look at this Ravens offense here. With no Steve Smith, I think Mike Wallace makes for a strong play, especially in tournaments. He's a very inconsistent receiver, but, I like the play there in GPPs. What are you thinking?
I just going to agree with you. Yeah, Mike Wallace looks solid. I don't know what's going on with Kamar Aiken this year. I know he kind of came on strong at the end of last year, but I don't think he's doing anything yet this year.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen his. Yeah, I mean, Kamar Aiken though I think he might get some of those receiver reps there just because Steve Smith is out.
Right.
Yeah, so I think he'll shine in that spot. I kind of like him, but I'm not. I don't know. He's mid-priced.
That's kind of a flyer. That's just like
it's a GPP flyer. Yeah. Although I do think he'll be popular.
Yeah, it could be if it comes out starting.
Yeah, now that the Steve Smith news is becoming like mainstream, Kamar Aiken will probably be popular. I don't know. Now that I think about it, I don't think it's a situation you could pass up. I know I'm just flip-flopping stances very quickly here. But I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking about how game script would work out in such a situation. And, he really makes for a solid play in that, with the logic of, him being min-priced.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to play. You would think they got to roll out 2 receivers, right? I don't think Devin Hester's getting out there.
Jeez. What a career.
I didn't know Devin Hester was still playing in the league.
Someone's got to return kicks. I mean, the man does one thing very well, and that is return kicks. Yeah, so that's that whole Baltimore Ravens situation will play itself out as the week goes on. And we also have the New York Giants offense here where I mean the Ravens defense, it really isn't that good. I know public perception is like, this is still the early 2000s and I don't know why. This is just what people are still thinking at this point in time. But yeah, in this situation, I mean, obviously a lot of people have been fried by Odell Beckham Jr. in the past. I mean, he scored 16.6 DraftKings points last week, so not too bad. And he saw 12 targets, but he only caught 5 of them for 56 yards. However, he did have a touchdown. Yeah, so I do like him in that spot this week, just with the Ravens defense being that bad. That's really it. I mean, I can kind of get behind Eli Manning in tournaments. But I think there might be better options.
I hate playing Eli Manning. I don't know why. I hate it. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, he's just a very frustrating fantasy quarterback.
Right.
I mean, there is just absolutely no doubt about that. I mean, he does have if he were to retire today, like he would leave a very strong legacy for himself. He's won one title. 2 titles?
Yeah.
2 titles. I don't know what. I don't know.
Two miraculous titles.
There are still titles nonetheless. I mean, if you ask him, he'll probably so again, as far as the fantasy aspect is concerned, Eli is a GPP only play, but I think a decent GPP play in that regard.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to our next game here. We have the Carolina. Oh man, I just spit up all over. Jeez, that was messy. Moving on to our next game here, we have the Carolina Panthers going up against the New Orleans Saints. Right now, the Panthers are favored by 3 points in the game that features a 53-point total. Right now, Cam Newton is questionable for this game, but it seems like he's doing a lot better. He practiced on Wednesday and seems to be a go for this week, but we'll see as the week goes on. And no injury news for the Saints there. And Jonathan Stewart's obviously still out. So now all that housekeeping stuff is covered. Let's just look at this Panthers offense here. They're projected for 28 points right now for with Vegas. And obviously after last week's game, I think they're praying for I think they're going to do everything in their power to make sure Cam Newton plays. Because Derek Anderson, he's just bad. I mean, that was awful.
I've seen that firsthand. I've seen that firsthand, my friend. That's not a good situation to be in when he's your quarterback.
Exactly. I mean, we know now why. See, I don't know why the NFL is questioning as to why ratings are down. When you put this game on Monday Night Football, nation. Yep. I mean, I know Cam Newton wasn't. I mean, they didn't obviously they didn't know he was going to be out, but still, here's Monday Night Football. I don't know. That's an argument for another day. But like, jumping into this Panthers offense here, I mean, obviously we know the Saints defense is bad. I don't think they've done anything right all year, the past 2 years at least. And Kelvin Benjamin, Greg Olsen, Cam Newton, a stack that I'll always go with when it's in a good matchup. And I'm going back to the well again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's going to cost a lot to get those 3, but I mean, if you're going to lock in, 4 or 5 touchdowns, you might as well throw it out there,
Exactly.
It's going to be like 35-31, I mean, it's going to be a shootout.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, Vegas is projecting it. The public is going to project. It's what it's going to be. And then, this is where a guy like Kamar Aiken's going to work into your strategy, because again, a high price stack. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin's 8,100 on DraftKings, Cam Newton's 8,100 on DraftKings, and Greg Olsen is 7,000. So yeah, a guy like Kamar Aiken, I don't want to jump back, between that game, but that's where value like that, when it opens up, is going to make a stack like this. Excuse me, it's going to make a stack like this more highly owned.
Of course.
All right, so I love it. I love it for this week, and it's probably going to be in a very good chunk of my lineups. Looking at the Saints offense here, I mean, they're at home. Drew Brees at home, going up against
Yeah,
a very bad Carolina Panthers secondary. Um, I mean, how do you not? I mean, I know I was just praising the Cam Newton, Benjamin Olsen stack, but I mean, Drew Brees, man, the guy just dominates at home.
yeah, he's a plug and play at home, man. It doesn't even really matter who they're playing against. Just plug in all the passing options for the Saints and just stack that whole game if you can.
And the unfortunate thing is that the same thing is going to happen this week that happened week one when they went up against the Oakland Raiders, and it's the fact that Drew Brees is not going to be as highly owned as he should be. Just
Right.
and the sole reason for this would be Vegas. You know, people are going to look at the Vegas lines and they're going to be like, okay, the Panthers are favored. The Panthers are projected for 28 points, and the Saints are projected for 25 points. So I'd rather get the 28 points than the 25 points. You know, that crap. But you know what people are not going to realize is Drew Brees is a monster at home, no matter who he goes up against.
Right.
And if he's going to go up against this, for lack of a better term, you know, shitty defense, that why not? You know, why not throw out a Breeze Cook Snead stack? You know?
Throw Flamer in there. You could stack both teams if you want to.
Oh yeah. I mean,
oh
yeah.
It's only 3,700 still.
Yeah, I mean, a game stack for this. I mean, how do you like? I know I sound silly, just keep saying this over and over again, but how do you not? You know?
Right. Locking in the points. Man.
This is gonna be a fun game to watch. That's the reason why I got NFL Sunday ticket. No other reason. To watch the Saints at home going up against these crap teams. Yeah. So moving on to our next game here, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Chicago Bears. Right now, the Bears are favored by 2.5 points in a game that features a 47-point total. Julius Thomas is questionable going into this game. He has an elbow injury, although he did practice in full on Wednesday. So he looks to be a go for this week. And Brian Hoyer seems to have taken the starting job from Jay Cutler, because apparently Jay Cutler's healthy now and he's just not going to play. So, yeah, Brian Hoyer's got that job locked and loaded now. Yeah, so let's just jump into this Jaguars offense here. And I don't know. I mean, going into Chicago, it just gives me some weird feelings about this team, although they are going to be low owned. And at the same time, you know, they're projected for a decent amount of points, 22.3. Although I'm not going to base my logic off that. My logic's more just going to be based on the fact that Allen Robinson is just good. You know, he's just a good receiver. And in 3 of the 4 games that the Jaguars have played this year, he's had at least 10 targets. Yeah, so I love Allen Robinson this week. Maybe even some Blake Bortles. Yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, the Jags offense is one of those offenses that's just, it's got the Eli Manning factor. It seems they're frustrating to own, but they could just blow up any day. Robinson, Bortles, the receiver Hearns. I mean, they got some explosive players, but you know, on the road, I don't know if it's going to happen this week or not. But you know, it's always worth a shot, I think, in the tournament. I don't think there's anybody that you can't play in tournaments, honestly. I think you could always make a case and talk yourself into somebody for tournaments. Like, yeah, why not? You know, like
it depends how much you think into these things. You know, you can look at some like bench riding scrub and be like, okay, you know, if you think about it deep enough, you'd be like, okay, you know, he's not going to be highly owned, and you know, maybe the first stringer gets an ankle tweak, has to sit out of play, you know, deep bomb to this no name. Could justify it.
Right.
It's not going to be the most logical play, but you can always justify these things if you're good enough. Yeah, so look at these Bears offense now. Jordan Howard has seen his price creep up all the way to 6,200, up 1,000 from last week on DraftKings. he's still, I mean, as far as, with the opportunities being, as plentiful as they are, I don't see how you not play him at this, still at 6,200. Um, he might be an easier fade in tournaments, I guess, with the increased price tag, but I don't see him being like, I mean, first of all, like in cash, you need to have him, but in tournaments, I don't know. He's an easier fade this week, obviously, than last week. That's all I can say.
That's it, huh? Yeah, he's easier fade for sure. The price is up there, but I mean his production's through the roof right now. And if anybody watched him in college, they know exactly what kind of back he is. This is exactly what he did for Indiana in college. So he's a workhorse back. I wouldn't go away from him in cash. I would just plug him right in and just move on. And then I mean you can even think about Hoyer in cash for 58. I mean he's been on fire. Like I don't know how he's doing it because I saw him firsthand as well, and he didn't do this for the Browns a couple of years back. So who knows where this is coming from? And then what about Meredith coming off a monster game?
Yeah, I was just about to touch on him. I mean, he had 12 targets last week, catching 9 of them for 130 yards and a touchdown. He's at 4,100 this week. People are going to be all over him.
That's crazy.
I mean,
nowhere.
Yeah, he's gonna be very highly owned this week. But at the same time, do you fade him at 4,100? I mean, he kind of has the same situation as Terrell Pryor kind of did. I mean, not as many positions as Terrell Pryor could play, but I mean, he saw 12 targets last week, and you could kind of see how, a guy like Draft Cheat, who just dominated with Meredith in his lineup, Meredith did see his targets creep up every week leading up to that game.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see where the justification of playing him would come from. But yeah, I mean, a Terrell Pryor-like situation where the guy sees a ton of opportunities and the price is still low on him. So I think you still buy on that Meredith trade.
Yeah, I'm buying it for sure. I'm not going away from it in cash at all.
Yeah, and one last thing I like to say here with the Bears, I mean, Brian Hoyer has been a very, very consistent quarterback since taking over that job. He's had 22.9, 22.8, and 26.8 fantasy points respectively since becoming the starter. He makes for a very strong cash game play this week.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know about GP. Yeah, I don't know about GPPs because the upside isn't huge, but
right.
Cash, he is very much on there, on my radar. Moving on to our next game here, we have the Los Angeles Rams going up against the Detroit Lions. Right now, the Lions are favored by 3 points in a game that features a 44-point total. I don't think there's any injury. Oh, there are. Okay. Theo Riddick is question. Are you kidding me here? Yeah, my thing just like froze out on me. But Theo Riddick, I finally back up there. All right, we got Theo Riddick is questionable for this week with an ankle injury. He did not practice Wednesday. And Eric Ebron is questionable with knee and ankle injuries. He did not practice on Wednesday either. All right, so aside from all that tomfoolery, I don't think there's anyone from the Rams that I like. I mean, maybe Todd Gurley, but because he's more
Todd Gurley, but overall that team is just a mess. Maybe Tavon Austin. I just don't know what they're doing.
I think all I have to say there is Detroit Lions defense. Strong in GPPs. That's the one time I'll make it obvious for everyone. But the rest you kind of just have to read between the lines there. But yeah. So for this Lions offense here, the Rams are just losing so many guys on the defense. Adam Levitan's been tweeting about it, and right now I forget Johnson here. I forget his first name. Johnson there for the Rams, one of the corners. It was a crazy stat. Out of 115 eligible cornerbacks on Pro Football Focus, Johnson ranked 114. So according
And
to
he's
Pro
a
Football,
starter.
yeah,
And he's a starter.
this guy just like walked off the street and signed on to the team. So yeah, he's 114th out of 115 qualifying cornerbacks right now, and he's going up against Marvin Jones, who's at 7,200. Excuse me, 7,200 on DraftKings right now, and Marvin Jones is coming off of two very bad games, for his price. Two very bad value games against the Bears and Eagles. So he's definitely going to be very low owned, still at a very high price tag. I love it this week, especially with a Matthew Stafford stack, as well as Theo Riddick if Theo Riddick is in the game. I like that stack with Stafford as well.
Yeah, I like that. I was just going to say Stafford and Marvin Jones is a solid stack for sure. I don't know what is going on with Golden Tate. Like I thought he'd have a better year out there. He's supposed to be the number 2 guy, but he doesn't seem like he's getting the ball. So I don't know what the deal is there, but I mean I would definitely look at Stafford and Jones for sure as a solid stack.
Exactly. I don't know, but it's a surprisingly low scoring game projected.
Yeah, I was surprised by that total also. Like I think the Lions are going to blow them out personally. I think Detroit's at home. I think they're going to put up 30 points on them. But I don't know if they're going to keep throwing the ball. That's the thing.
Exactly. I mean, at some point in that game, it might just become a running situation. Although in that spot, Theo Riddick is a guy who would benefit from such a situation as well.
Right.
All right. So moving on to our next game here, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Miami Dolphins. Some injury news to talk on here. Sammy Coates is questionable this week with a hand injury. He did not practice on Wednesday. And yes, that's the injuries. And right now, the Steelers are favored by 7.5 points in a game that features a 47-point total. I don't know. Right now, I mean, obviously, a lot of people are going to be on Ben Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell. But my God, Antonio Brown is 10K on DraftKings.
Whew,
10K.
That's a lot.
I mean, how much value do you have to find to justify this?
That's a lot. That's what 20% of your total team salary.
and here's the thing. I mean, they're not in Pittsburgh. They're in Miami, which, in a vacuum, this would be still a very good matchup. But Pittsburgh, the offense isn't really that efficient when they're away,
right?
As past data has shown. So I'm going to just in tournaments, I'm fading these guys. They're just straight fade.
I would play. I'd play Bell if I was going to play anybody. I wouldn't play Ben or Brown. I would just play Bell because he's getting all of the work. But yeah, I wouldn't look for a 15 target, 140-yard game from Brown this weekend.
No, I just don't see it in the cards for him.
And I think the Vegas total is all over that too. I mean, that's what they're telling you.
Oh yeah, because they want you to. Yeah, Vegas knows who we are. Vegas knows exactly who we are, and they want us to fall in the trap. But I'm not going to do it. I refuse. Yeah. Looking at this Dolphins team now, too. I mean, the Steelers are not that great when it comes to defending opposing wide receivers.
No, terrible.
When it comes to the actual scoreboard, they keep teams off the board. But when it comes to just fantasy production of opposing wide receivers, a guy like Jarvis Landry, I think, is going to succeed a ton this week. A lot of people are going to be off him because he only saw 3 targets last week against the Tennessee Titans, catching all 3 of them for 28 yards. But still, he only scored 6 fantasy points. I mean, he's not the best tournament play because he's not, because he mainly just gets his points off of just catches and the yards after that, PPR type guy. Not really a touchdown type player. But still, I mean, Jarvis Landry is a fantastic play this week.
Yeah, he's going to be a solid play. If you believe that, especially he's going to be even a better play if you believe that Pittsburgh's going to get up on Miami. which, like we both said, we're not really super high on the Steelers' offense, though, just because of being on the road in general. Teams are going to be a little bit less explosive on the road. But yeah, I mean, Landry should be. I mean, he's the guy in the passing game. I mean, if Ryan Tannehill can do anything, just throw the ball to Landry 15 times a game and live with the results. And yeah, Pittsburgh's, I think their defense is ranked 30th against the pass, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like versus wide receiver ones, they're like ranked 30th. So they're vulnerable for sure.
Yeah, it's a weak spot. It really is a weak spot for them there. And yeah, I mean, I think Jarvis Landry is the biggest beneficiary from such an inefficiency from the team.
Right.
All right, so moving on to our next game here, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the New England Patriots. Right now, the Patriots are favored by 8.5 points in a game that features a 47-point total. Right now, as far as injury notes are concerned, Tyler Eifert is questionable this week with a back injury. He didn't practice Wednesday, but he is coming a lot closer to coming back into game action, which will be great for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. As much as I know you want to hear that so much. But
hey, I'm already looking forward to basketball season, man. It is what it is.
Oh man, it's only it's early October.
All right, it's early October. When's the draft?
Oh, good lord.
When's the draft? In May?
Actually, that's in Philadelphia this year, actually. So that'll be fun.
Right.
Oh, maybe you can visit.
Maybe we'll take a trip down to Philly.
That'll be a fun time. Yeah. So AJ Green here is probable for this. Not probable because God forbid we say that nowadays. But he's very likely to play. I guess is the now NFL politically correct term.
Right.
For such a thing. And then Martellus Bennett, I mean, I'll talk about him in a little bit, but he's questionable with an ankle injury that he suffered last week in that game against the Browns. So that's the injuries there. So look at this Bengals offense here. I don't think I trust them a whole lot. They're in New England, and I don't know, that defense is pretty strong. Don't really give up a whole lot. And then Bill Belichick, he's just going to take AJ Green out of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't find any reason to be high on any of these Bengals players.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I don't like to target players on the road in general. I try to find the better matchups at home, just because in the NFL playing on the road is tough. And when you have a defense like New England and a coach like Belichick, man, he's going to take away your number one option for sure. And that's AJ Green. They're going to do what they can to just not even let him get the ball. So I wouldn't go anywhere near the Bengals offense. That's just all I got for them, really.
Yeah, and then look at this Patriots offense here. I know Martellus Bennett had a huge game last week. He had 8 targets, catching 6 of them for 67 yards and 3 touchdowns. So obviously a very strong game there, but I think variance has a lot to do with that performance, and I don't know if that's going to be replicable for this week. So obviously GPPs, he's very strong in that regard, but cash, I just don't touch him there. Yeah. See, what do you? I mean, I know guys like Julian Edelman are good for cash, but what about tournaments?
For tournaments, I think you probably want someone more like Hogan if you're looking for a tournament play for a receiver. Like tournament plays, I would go Hogan and Bennett over Edelman and Gronk just because of ownership. They're probably not going to outperform those two, but you never know. I mean it's tournament play for a reason. And yeah, when I was at the game, obviously in Cleveland, and I believe all 3 of those touchdowns that Bennett caught were like inside the 5-yard line. So I don't know if they're going to try to target him more inside, down close like that. But Gronk still had a monster game, and he was still getting a lot of action. So it's not like it's all Bennett.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the game logs for every single receiver last week, Julian Edelman was the one guy who really didn't have a very strong game, but he still got the targets. Julian Edelman still saw 10 targets last week, which is always a great sign to see for future production.
You gotta look at the thing about Chris Hogan too. A little bit misleading is he had he had 4 receptions for 114 yards, but one of his catches was for 63 of that. You know what I mean? So it's not like he was just going up and down the field all day. He hit a bomb. They hit a bomb on Joe Hayden down the sideline. So that was a big chunk of what he did last week.
Yeah, I think Chris. See, I feel like a guy like Chris Hogan. He's more of an A-dot type player, which is like he just benefits from his high A-dot, average depth of target. So, you kind of take on that risk. You assume the risk and you benefit a whole lot if it succeeds, and you don't. You get hurt very badly if it doesn't. Normal tournament play there in Chris Hogan, but I still like it. And I agree with what you were saying there with him. Moving on to our next game here, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Oakland Raiders. Right now, I think this game's a pick'em. Yeah, this game's a pick'em right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, with a 47-point total, so this seems to be a very fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Jamal Charles looks to be in, I guess. He's been practicing in full. So he'll probably be back in the foray there in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And then for the Raiders, Clive Walford is questionable this week with a knee injury. If for some reason he's out, Michael Rivera becomes an awesome play. But I'll talk about that in a second after my voice stops cracking. And I'm almost 20, for God's sake. I thought this shit would be over. But guess not. Yeah, so...
Almost 20. Wow, man. I wish I was almost 20.
Just living these days,
Right.
All right, so looking at this Chiefs team here, I mean, again, this whole team is just awful for GPPs because Alex Smith is just the definition of a cash game play. Just absolutely no upside qualities, but just does what he needs to do to win, which is fine for his own purposes, but it doesn't help us at all one bit. Jamal Charles at 5,100. If he is healthy and ready to go, I mean, I have absolutely no idea how those snaps would be divided between Jamal Charles and a guy like Spencer Ware, but maybe Jamal Charles starts to get the bulk of the carries. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see, but I guess Charles makes for a very good tournament play in that regard, especially going against an Oakland Raiders team that's not very good.
Yeah, the defense is god awful. I think that's the only thing leading to the high total. Like at first the total surprised me. I don't think Kansas City's offense is really anything to write home about. I mean, Jamal Charles is a stud if he's 100% healthy, and at 5,100, if he's fully healthy, you just lock him in. But I don't think he's fully healthy yet, and I don't trust Alex Smith at all, especially on the road. I would be all over the other side of this if I was going to stack any of these teams.
Exactly.
I'd be all over the Raiders for sure.
Exactly. That's where the offensive upside is. And we'll just jump into them right now. Looking at that Raiders team, I mean, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Derek Carr, that stack work. How can you go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are on fire on offense. They don't really have a running back that's worth a damn, I don't think. So they just chuck it all day.
And the thing is, I mean, game script, just Vegas projected game script just says that a running back really shouldn't be in play in this game. If no team is clearly favored by any amount of points, I think the ball's just going to constantly be thrown.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where you see Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree flourish in that regard. And earlier I was talking about Clive Walford. If Clive Walford's out, Michael Rivera gets a ton of action by being the only tight end on that team still at that point.
Right.
So he would just get a ton of plays.
Yeah, he went to what was it, University of Washington, or is he from Washington or is he from Miami? I can't remember which.
To be honest with you, I don't remember where any of these guys go to college. They get rid of DFS college football. I stopped caring about the NCAA.
Hey, there you go. That's kind of how I am too. Ohio State's the only team I follow now, right?
Oh man, this is a problem. we are a Nittany Lion household.
Oh boy.
Oh man, Joey Julius, what a goat.
Right.
We'll be talking about him soon. Although I guess kickers, that's another story.
Right.
That's a whole other issue. But yeah, I mean, what was my train of thought here? I got so excited with Joey Joyous. Oh yeah, Amari Cooper, 3 would-be touchdowns out of bounds. Like he still had an amazing game. He had 30.8 DraftKings points on 12 targets, catching 6 of them for 138 yards and a touchdown. But still, what could have been?
Yeah.
I mean, that one play they were reviewing for like forever was painful. And then they said he was incomplete. It was awful. But yeah,
that wasn't good. He had a chance for one of the best games of the season if he could have stayed in on those.
Oh yeah. The moral of my spiel here is that Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree make sense as a stack.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was the elongated version of justifying that call. All right, moving on to our next game here. We have the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, the Seahawks are favored by 6.5 points with a 45.5 point total over there. Julio Jones is questionable this week with a knee injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday. And Tyler Lockett is questionable with a knee injury as well. Although, with that news, Pete Carroll has made some very clear indications that Tyler Lockett will have a, quote, bigger role in Week 6 per Roto World. So, yeah, the questionable with the knee injury throws you off a lot. You know, Pete Carroll's like, oh, yeah, he's questionable, but he's going to have a big role in the offense this week. So, hint, hint, probable for this week over there. So, again, I guess I'll discuss that in a minute. But Julio Jones is questionable with the knee. I don't know. Where do you go with this team then?
I don't go anywhere with them.
Seahawks defense.
Seahawks defense.
That's the call there.
At Seattle. Dome team going to Seattle. I don't like it at all. I mean, you may be able to sneak in some value if you can figure out who's going to get the ball if Julio's out. But, I mean, who's going to get the ball if Julio's out? You know what I mean?
That's the question. That's right. A very strong question to ask. I mean, Mohamed Sanu and Jacob Tammy.
That doesn't do it for me.
I really wouldn't trust my money on that.
No.
In any facet. So our consensus call here is Seahawks defense.
Yep. Lock them in.
Yeah. All right. So so then looking at the Seahawks offense, I mean, I wish there was a way to kind of figure out what Pete Carroll wants to say by saying that Tyler Lockett's gonna have a bigger role. As far as his target numbers over the course of the season are concerned, I can see where he kind of justifies saying something like that. I mean, Lockett saw 8 targets in Week 1 against the Dolphins, but then ever since then he's only seen 7 targets in 3 games combined.
Wow.
All right, so I guess that's what he means by bigger role. But I want to kind of see it to believe it. But then looking at the Seahawks offense here, I mean, a guy like Doug Baldwin I really like a lot this week. But you know, since I've been talking up a storm here, give me some of your insight.
Oh yeah, this is another team that I think is fully stackable this week. Wilson, Baldwin, and Jimmy Graham. Atlanta's defense is just not slowing down anybody. So I think Seattle at home takes it to them and puts up some points here. I don't know much about the running game for Seattle. I mean, I'm not sure how well Michael's doing. It seems like he's doing okay, but at 6,800, I don't know if I can go there for Christian Michael. But yeah, I would be all over Wilson, Baldwin, and Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I mean they're going up against one of the top rush defenses in all of football. So I'm just gonna avoid that running situation with Seattle right now. I don't trust it against probably the best team against the rush in all of football. And I'm just gonna stay with Doug Baldwin here. Maybe stack him with Russell Wilson, but I don't know. I think there are better places to go there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Moving on to our next game, then we have the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Green Bay Packers. Hold on. Good Lord. Gotta pull this stuff up here. All right. The Packers are favored by 4 points in the game that features a 47.5-point total. Right now, as far as injuries are concerned, Des Bryant is questionable with the knee injury, but he is practicing in full without any braces or anything. So that's good to see. And then for the Green Bay Packers, both running backs are questionable for this game. Eddie Lacy with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. And James Starks, who just didn't practice on Wednesday with a knee injury. So I guess keep that in mind, although the running back game for the Packers haven't been great at all. Yeah, so look at this Cowboys team here. I mean, Dak Prescott definitely makes for a very strong cash game quarterback, if not possibly a GPP one to some extent. And then Ezekiel Elliott, man. Oof.
Stud.
He is going to be good. That's all I can say. I mean, give me some of your insights here.
Yeah, I love Zeke, obviously Buckeye, but I mean, running behind that O-line, like I'm looking at the DraftKings lineup thing right now, and it says that they're number one against the rush. I don't know if that's correct. The Packers, I don't know if they're number one against the run or not. But I love Zeke. I mean, he's getting like 30 carries a game. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like it's just insane the amount of carries he's getting. And then it looks like on DraftKings, Dak Prescott has like his lowest scoring game is like 18 points, which is like 3.5x value for what he's priced at right now. So, you know, I like it. I don't know what else to say. I like playing.
Very, very good reason to justify it. I'm not going to fight you on it, you know. Very strong reason to believe that. Yeah, so very, very strong cash game options over there for Dallas. And then for the Green Bay Packers, with both of their running backs having injury concerns, this is definitely a situation to go into the passing game. And Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson stack is a great way to get in on that. I mean, Randall Cobb too, just because, I mean, last week he had a very strong game, his best game of the year, getting 11 targets, catching 9 of them for 108 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but he still had 22.8 DraftKings points, which very solid for a guy at that price range. He was 6,200 this week, all the way down to 6,000 this week. But yeah, I think they'll be throwing the ball a lot more just because of that running back situation.
Yeah, for the Packers, yeah, that running back situation is I don't know what's going on there, but I would be all over the pass game for sure. I mean, it looks like Randall Cobb's getting more involved in the passing game. He may be a nice contrarian play instead of going Rodgers and Jordy. You can go Rodgers and Cobb. You can go Rodgers and Adams, who had a good game last week. Yeah, I mean, I think Green Bay is probably the favorite to win the game, but I think there's good fantasy options on both sides for sure.
Exactly. And I definitely like some of the situations that you can get out of this game for cash. And it has a pretty high total, so Vegas is expecting some offensive production from this game. Looking at our last game of the slate here, we have the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Houston Texans. The Texans are favored by 3 points in the game that features a 46-point total. And there aren't any injury news or concerns to report on there. So let's just jump in to this Colts offense here. And, I mean, ever since J.J. Watt has been out, you can definitely see a decline in the quality of the Houston Texans defense, which means Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton, who, I mean, T.Y. Hilton just did absolute great stuff last week, and he's been dominating since Dante Moncrief has been out. Last week against the Bears, he saw 11 targets, catching 10 of them for 171 yards and a touchdown, scoring 36.1 DraftKings points. I just love that stack this week. Just give me some of your thoughts here. Hopefully we agree on this.
Yeah, I like them. I like the Colts. Yeah, T.Y. Hilton just had a massive game. What do you have, like 180 yards receiving?
Yep.
You know, I mean, He's the guy. He's the number one guy in Houston. I mean, in Indianapolis, they don't run the ball. They just throw the ball like all the time. Um, I think this game can shoot out. Like neither defense is really going to stop the other offense. I don't believe. And I think there's really solid offensive plays on both sides of this one.
Yeah, I like the play there with Hilton, maybe Philip Dorsett, but Philip Dorsett just doesn't get the opportunities.
Right.
You know, a lot of people are on him, but he just doesn't get targets, which is a very bad indicator for future success. Dwayne Allen's a guy also there as well. But yeah, look at this Texans offense here. You can certainly make an argument for either DeAndre Hopkins or Will Fuller, just because of how bad Brock Osweiler has been lately. I don't trust it as a stack in that regard, but
Right.
I think one or the other, you could definitely get some GPP value out of them. Will Fuller has been nice with the punt return touchdown upside there, and then DeAndre Hopkins is going to go completely ignored, just because of some recency bias throughout the season. Where do you think the action's going to go here?
Their offense is one of those offenses that's kind of hard to figure out. I mean, they're coming off a game where they got smacked around by the Vikings, which everybody's getting. That's happening to everybody. So they should be able to bounce back against the Colts because the Colts defense is just garbage. I mean, they're just not doing anything. They're not stopping anyone. I mean, Lamar Miller against the Colts D, that's solid. Like you said, Hopkins is a great low-owned GPP, and then Fuller for sure is another GPP play. And I don't know if I would go Osweiler. I really don't. I mean, he doesn't seem like he knows what's going on half the time. I mean, it's just he only completed 45% of his passes last week, so that's pretty rough.
Yeah, it's just the Texans and the Browns have one thing in common, and that is in their history of being a franchise. Because I'm counting the current Cleveland Browns, not the past Cleveland Browns,
Right.
as a franchise. They haven't gotten quarterback right at all.
Nope.
In no situation have they ever found the guy.
Nope.
So
yeah, without the guy, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter who else you have. If you don't have the quarterback, you don't have anything else.
Yeah, and then one more guy I want to touch up on here before we wrap it up. Lamar Miller at 6,600 on DraftKings. Had a bad game last week against the Vikings, although that should have been predicted by anyone. He only scored 3.4 DraftKings points, running the ball 8 times for only 20 yards. Yeah, I think he has a nice bounce back game this week with the Colts defense being bad as they are, as you were talking about. But yeah, I think you can see some definite options there with the Houston Texans offense.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll have a couple of them for sure.
All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for us this week. I am your host, Evan Chaney, joined today by CG from DailyRotoSharks.com, and this has been DRS Live Week 6 for the NFL season. We're already at Week 6. That's crazy.
Almost halfway through.
Yeah, make sure to go on to DailyRotoSharks.com and purchase the awesome NFL projections that they have over there. I've been using them for my lineups, and I've been doing very solid with them. So, again, make sure to purchase those, and you'll do very well in your contest if you do so. And good luck in your contest this week, guys. If we're not winning all the money, we hope you guys do. So good luck in those contests.
All right. Take care, everyone.